Hey guys, welcome back to She Became Me Podcast, where we unlock pain, passion, and power. I'm your host, Lentina Rogers. As we continue to define moments, that's our theme for this year. We would like to introduce a guest to you tonight. It's going to be phenomenal. Tonight's show is titled Community Connections, and we're going to have a real good information session for you guys for community awareness. So let me get my co-host in, Yolanda J. Brown.
Hello. Good evening.
Hey Yolanda, how's it going?
Not bad at all. How are you?
Oh, doing good, doing good. Um, just wanted to mention to our audience that Radnika was not able to record with us tonight at this session, but she's here in spirit. So we just want to say hey to Radnika.
Hey, Ronika.
Yes. So let's jump right in. And Yolanda, can you go ahead and introduce our guest for tonight and kind of read a little bit about her bio to kind of introduce her to our audience?
Sure. We have Kenya Patterson joining us tonight. She is the CEO and founder of the Do-Over Project and Living Wellness Respite Retreat. She was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana, earned her bachelor's degree in social work from Indiana University, Purdue University, and a master of science in management from Indiana Wesleyan University. She is dynamic as a trained and certified mental health professional. She has dedicated more than 2 decades to providing support services for families and youth with serious emotional disorders. She is a life coach and subject matter expert in mental health. We are so excited to hear from her tonight on parenting skills, maternal and child health, and her expertise in mental health overall. She's going to talk about why she founded the Do Over Project. She's going to talk to us about the multiple hats that she wears as a first lady, a newlywed, and she's a grandmother. She has 4 adult children. She enjoys ministry, dancing, and live music. So I'm just excited for us to meet her tonight.
Hey, hey Kenya, how's it going?
Right?
Hey there. Can you hear me now?
Hi.
Yes, we can. We
Yes.
can.
Yes.
It's going well. Well, I am blessed. No complaints. No complaints. Happy to be here.
Yes, welcome. So Kenya, um, can you kind of just jump in and kind of tell our viewers who is Kenya and how did you become who you are today?
Ooh, Kenya saved. I wear a t-shirt that says sinner, saint saved. So I
Okay.
am saved. I am a woman who absolutely know without Jesus, Lord, where would I be?
Mhm.
And so I am a mother. I am now a wife. I just got married July 25th. So I'm a wife to a senior pastor. And so now first lady, mother, as I shared, to originally 3 biological and now 4 adult children. I inherited my daughter through marriage, another daughter through marriage. So I have 2 daughters now and 2 sons and a grandbaby also. So I'm super
Okay.
excited. So now I'm a grandma. I said I'm going to be a grandma. I don't want to be a grandma.
Oh,
Um, uh, just a lover of life and just in every way. And with that, lover of life and just always been someone naturally curious about what makes people think and what got them, to where they are. And especially those that might have needed a couple chances, or I like to say thousands of chances, and nothing but grace and mercy, and that's kind of what I framed the name Do Over Project, because I am the founder of Do Over Project. And I kind of got the name, as a kid, you would ask for a do-over. And so I thought do-over was fitting. And so Do Over Project, the founder and CEO of Do Over Project, which is a mental health program that services children ages 6 to 17, and also assists the parents that are raising a child with a mental health disorder. And through Do Over Project, I founded Living Wellness Respite Retreat, which is a respite home for youth diagnosed with serious emotional disturbances or mental health disorder.
Okay, so Kenya, can you kind of tell us how did you get into mental health? Was it like something that you always wanted to do, or
Ooh.
you just kind of like just kind of eased into mental health?
I would like to say my mother used to call me curious.
Uh-huh.
I always just had an interest for people. And then I found that through my teenage years, people were attracted to me
Uh-huh.
in a way that they would feel very comfortable sharing. I would call it a gift of confidentiality.
Yes.
Now, if I to look back, I would say, God gave me a gift of confidentiality. I never had the desire to gossip, and I would just find myself in these positions, even at I remember in high school, a young lady was trying to commit suicide, and she reached out to me and connected, and we started talking, and I got her help then as a
Okay.
high schooler. It was some stuff going on in a foster home. It wasn't right. And we got her to some help. Then as I was going through college, I was a hair braider. That was my hustle.
Uh-huh.
As woman after woman sitting in my chair, they would just
Yeah.
start shooting stuff. And I'd be thinking to myself, why are they telling me this? But, I didn't know what to do with it, but I knew that it was confidential. And,
Yeah.
honestly, one day I prayed and God showed me Isaiah 54, and it was the sovereign Lord has given you an instructed tongue to speak a word to the weary. And that stuck with me, and that kind of started my path. Along with, I was very familiar with trauma. I was
Okay.
raised in it wasn't a single parent home, but it might as well have been. My mother was married to my father, but he had a lot of challenges. I
Okay.
don't recall very many memories with them, although they were married. And he was quite abusive and aggressive,
Mhm.
and which is probably why he was probably in and out, but I knew trauma and I knew the effect it had on your life. And it was through my journey and discovering things. At first I wanted to be a nurse because that was helping people,
Yeah.
started out that path.
Mhm.
And as I started learning about school, because at that time I was the first graduate from high school and then college, by this time going into college, and started learning about social work. And I was like, no, that sounds more like me. I want to help people because, there are things I had experienced that, people were surprised that, I had overcome it. And I just looked at it at the time as survival, and I don't want to be this angry person, and then to get more mature enough to learn about therapy and all of that, and just fell in love with the idea of being able to, be an overcomer.
Okay.
So it was like, I did this. I started out as a single mom,
Mhm.
a teen mom, been on my own since 17 years old, and have gone from the system to, I remember clear as day calling the system saying, I don't need anything else from y'all anymore. I know I was excited, but I had always been a worker,
Yeah.
and kind of part of that journey of being on my own at 17, I wanted more. My daughter, I wanted more for her.
Yeah.
I grew up in the PJs,
Yeah.
and I would travel on an Amtrak train days to go to California and nanny for some family members. And I got exposed to a different lifestyle. And I
Okay.
was like, this is
Mhm.
nice. Nice. What do I got to do to get here? And I think
Right.
the pieces just started to come together,
Okay.
and, and,
Well, well, well. You and I have that in common, teen mom.
okay,
Um,
absolutely. For me, it was that Shire was the drive for me to want more out of life. I wanted more. And I knew, that it had to be more. You see it on TV, but you don't quite know it. And so the summer I got called to babysit up in, San Jose, California, that was my first exposure in real life to like beautiful home. And I was
yeah.
like, okay. So then I volunteered to babysit every summer.
Right.
You
Right. Right.
know, and And it was just a beautiful thing. And then I learned, I mean, I was working at the hospital as soon as, I could. And they were like,
Yeah.
why are you not in college? And it was like, rich people go to college. And, and they were like, no, you can get a Pell Grant. I was like, I don't know about all that. But when I traveled down there and figured out what it was,
Yeah.
work study was working for financial aid and
Okay.
undergraduate admission. And I actually became what was called College Goes Sunday representative. And
Yeah.
at that time, it was with First Lady O'Bannon, and we traveled to talk about financial aid. And it was also the spokesperson from USA Loans. And I would travel from different Indiana counties talking about financial aid, because I want everybody to know they're giving you money to go to school around here.
Okay.
That's
So,
good.
Yolanda, do you have any questions for Miss Kenya?
Yes, I think there's a few things that you said that have resonated with me. But the first thing is you mentioned the name of your organization, the Do Over Project.
Yes.
And when I think about do over, I think about regret. I
Mm,
think about second chances.
yeah.
And so, how do you, um, what do you share with individuals um, who live with regret? How do
The-
you handle that?
that's I call a slow journey that you have to be very patient with. Our slogan is from past to possibilities. And so, and in that, I really help them focus on their purpose. That God still has more for you. Of course, we can't say God, or we don't want to bring our judgments and things like that in terms of our beliefs when you're in the social work field. So what I try to do is overemphasize the light. And people say, you're bubbly, happy. Well, I said, I believe I know my purpose,
Yeah.
because I know what I'm here to do. I don't let anything stop me from it. It's the kind of way I work around not being able to share, our beliefs. And they're like, your purpose. And they're like, well, I don't know my purpose. Because usually I find that's oftentimes
Yeah.
what causes people to be held in their past. We work with youth ages 6 to 17 with a mental health disorder. And what I found oftentimes, trauma. I mean, trauma is usually what has led up to this mental health disorder. And so the biggest part of that is helping them understand, we're not responsible for the things that happen to us. And even with all of that, still, God has a plan for your life. And as a matter of fact, I think you can help someone. How can I help someone, with this and that? I said, because you can show them you're a survivor and that you have a purpose still. And this is how I've overcome it, and purpose driven life, like Rick Warren, that book, Purpose Driven Life. When you allow people to understand why you're here, it just catches fire and they take off with it. Oftentimes I've kept the same phone number since I think like 97, because I have young ladies I work with that were 15, 10 years ago, and now here they are 25, and we talk about, they'll hit me up and I'm invited to baby showers or weddings or graduations, and I always take that opportunity to say, I'm so glad you found your purpose. What if that suicide attempt was successful? And they're like, oh my God, I mean, yes, I can't imagine, and I always tell them, share, share your testimony, because someone is waiting on you to hear it. Someone needs to know, because you can probably share with someone else that has been to that level of darkness in their life. I've never been there, but this is what you can do,
Right.
And so it's just amazing to see it. And so I think that's what I know, just knowing that people can turn around. But I love when they come back after years and years, and I have to be like, wait a minute, who's this grown man in my chat? Like, and then they're like starting to name all the people in their family. I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So Kenya, now it's amazing how everything just lined up, for you to be your purpose, you always had the gifts, skills, and talents to live out that purpose. I guess pretty much when you tapped into that, it was like bingo, right? And you was able to execute and live in your purpose. Now, getting to the new purpose of being a first lady. Now, how did you feel about that? Like, did you ever think you would be a spiritual leader or first
Mm,
lady, or like, were you surprised, or how did you feel about that? Uh,
nervous. I've always served in ministry. From the position of being an usher, the media ministry, um, little beginnings, they're always with the youth, always with the youth. And of course, in the mental health sector, anywhere I could offer my services, we would do these women of purpose and I would speak on mental health. So no, I wasn't expecting it. But until I met, my husband, and obviously while dating, we dated with the purpose. And so once it led to engagement, I knew it was coming. And so and my position has been, we're fairly both new in terms of coming into this. And so, my position is first and foremost, making sure God is pleased and supporting my husband. That's where I am right now. And of course, I want to learn each member of the congregation and help wherever needed. So I'm still actually learning that. I'm really learning about. So supporting my husband and definitely hearing from God. That's where I am right now.
Wonderful. Can you all hear me okay? I have a question around respite.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing that you provide respite care for caregivers. And I want to ask you, to number one, educate our audience on what that means, on what respite means. But I also want you to, in your own life, with the many hats that you wear, what do you do to give yourself a break?
Oh, absolutely. Living Wellness Respite Retreat, which is a respite home, was established in 2020. As I shared, Do Over Project is a agency, a mental health agency serving youth with mental health disorders between the ages of 6 to 17. And during actually COVID, we were considered essential workers. So we were in the home and we saw our family struggling during that stay-at-home order. They were used to the kids going to school during the day and having a break, in a sense, in that way. But being home, just consistently, it was presenting its challenges, and it were challenges that were already there, but at least, they would get a little breather every now and then. And so it was during the pandemic that I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but our families are struggling. We were seeing a lot of things increase in terms of verbal abuse and CPS reports that we were needing to make. And God had called me to do this some time ago, but I thought that I was supposed to wait and do like a boys home and do this boys home once I was married and had a male figure in my life that could be there to support me. And so prayed on it again. And it was like, go now. Pandemic, where we're supposed to be keeping social distance, open up this respite home. And I did, and I moved, prayed on it, looked at and started to create like all the pieces of a business plan on how to put this together, prayed on it. God provided every resource that I needed it and opened up Living Wellness Respite in 2020 to do respite care, which is a short-term form of care and supervision. Most people are used to seeing it with maybe seniors, where their caregiver needs a break. But we know that they also need it for caregivers of children with mental health disorders who are really struggling. And so we opened the doors and have been going full throttle ever since. It's busy ever since. And so it's just a wonderful thing to be able to, to me, it was just like, okay, it was supervision and giving them a break, but it really was about family sustainability. It's really about just peace. Some youth are brought to us in emergency situations and you'll hear, they haven't slept in 3 days. I don't know what they're doing. And once we let them get showered and this, that, and the other, and you see them over in one of the recliners cuddled up and they fall asleep, it just blesses my heart, like in such a major way. I can't even, describe it, it's just a affirmation, like, or confirmation that, this is it. We were blessed to have so many of my prayer warriors who support us before we opened. I wanted that house walked through and prayed over. So we had 3 different individuals come and pray over Living Wellness Respite Retreat, because I know that these kids struggle with quite a few things, and I wanted them to come into an anointed place and could feel that anointing. And it's been proven over and over again. A lot of times when they're dropped off at our doorstop or people are arranging it, they're like, okay, they're gonna do this, that, and the other. And sometimes we don't see any of that. We can engage. And so it's supervision, textbook definitions, supervising on a short-term basis so the caregiver or parent can get a break, but for us, it's so much more. It's social skill building. I call it the first slumber party, because some of our children suffer with different diagnoses like sexual maladaptive disorders, and they're not allowed to be around other children alone, in the sense of, the parents don't want to have to supervise. So it's like the answer is no kids over, Well, we supervise all the time. So you can come over and we have eyes everywhere. Eyes everywhere. And cameras and everything. So everyone, can feel protected and safe. And so it's just been a beautiful thing. And, I'm just excited about where it's going, because we've had so many different opportunities to grow. Right now, we're focusing solely on children with the mental health disorders, but I'm looking to expand to help some other individuals. There's a lot of families that have, we're Indiana Medicaid billing providers, for example, and families are no longer eligible, and they're like, can we do private pay? And so I'm just looking at different directions so we can still provide that support.
Yeah. So Kenya, is this for girls and boys or just girls?
Yes, it's for boys and girls, 6 to 13. I had to cap it off. I tried like 6 to 15.
Yeah.
Okay, Randy, I'm finding, no, we can't have boys and girls together.
Yeah.
So 6 to 13, and it's in more of a home type setting. I wanted them, that was very important for us. We could have chosen a commercial setting, but I want it like home. I want it to be as less institutional as possible. We are a mental health facility, indeed. However, licensed that way, certified that way, but we don't want it to feel that way.
Right. Oh, good, good.
And what I do for relaxation, I love music. Of course, I love the Lord. That is my strength. That is my recovery. That's my spiritual gasoline, is what keeps me going. I love traveling, passport. I love keeping it stamped, and excited now to do this with my husband. We just got back from Cancun for our wedding, and it was so cool because my mother and his family, some people have getting their passports for the first time. And so traveling with family was just an awesome experience, because, usually I'm like, I wish someone could see this. My mom could see this. So it was cool.
Okay. So, Kenya, can you tell us something about you that people don't know?
That people don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can say a couple things. I usually do this in Two Truths a Lie. We do during orientation.
Right.
I love dance, and I used to instruct ballroom dancing for Arthur Murray Dance Studio, because I was like, I don't club, so I'm like, I can't dance there. And I'm thinking, what better way and place to dance?
Right.
And so, at that time, it was ballroom competitions all over, Dancing with the Stars. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try ballroom dancing. And it worked. And I was hired to instruct ballroom dancing.
Oh, okay.
I've always been like someone who's willing to take, I would say, risk, maybe you would call it. So 2 things that people probably wouldn't know is I jumped on a plane and went to Zimbabwe. And about, I think it was 19 hours later, I was there, went for the purpose of what was at that time, it was the World Cup. And a lady had invited me there because she was selling Mary Kay. And I told her, well, you know what? I was selling hair extensions at the time. That was my jump. She was like, oh, that would be big in Africa. And it got so good, she ended up opening a store right then and there, and we were in partnership. But I sold my end out of the business, but that place is still open.
Oh,
The
okay.
Pigs, yep.
Yeah.
And the other one is I was a game show contestant on Deal or No Deal.
Okay.
Oh,
I drove by Bob Rohrman's.
Uh-huh.
There were people lined up for miles, and I was thinking, what, are they giving away cars? And and being I found out that they were doing what were casting calls, and I was like, I'm doing this, and I did.
Okay.
And it turned out really awesome. They were wanting to use me to do what was Thanksgiving theme, and being a social worker, it was like they were focused on who's thankful for you, and they ended up like flying out some of my clients at the time that were,
Oh, okay.
so it was really cool. So it was their first time experiencing California, and or even flying for the first time, and they just got the royal treatment. It was really cool. So it didn't only bless me and my family that were flown out, but also just my clients. So it was really cool. And
Oh, yeah.
I won a lot of money.
Yeah. That sounds like that was awesome.
It was very awesome.
nice.
Okay, so we're going to move to the part of our show now that's called She Mail. And I'm going to, just read off some questions that some of our viewers sent in. And then we always ask our guests to give their opinion of the questions. And Yolanda, if you can go ahead and do our disclaimer.
Yes. Thank you, Kenya, for everything that you've shared so far. And though, Kenya is a certified mental health professional, we do not profess to, be giving you all psychological advice. We are sharing our opinions and our thoughts about what you send in.
Yes. Okay. So let me get the first question out, guys. Let's see here. How do I deal with jealousy and competition in friendships? How do I deal with jealousy and competition in friendships? Oh, that's a look. Now that's a juicy one. Go ahead, Kenya, take a stab at it.
Well, you know what? I believe that every behavior is driven by a need, right?
Yeah.
And so, the simplest way to explain that is you have a baby that's crying and everyone's focused on the crying, but actually you go through the steps to figure out what the baby needs. Does it need a bottle? Does it need to feel full? Does it need to be picked up to feel comforted? Is it uncomfortable? Is the baby uncomfortable? Does it need a diaper change? I believe that same theory applies to adults. What is it that you're feeling that causes you? You really got to find the root. When did you first start to feel jealousy? Because usually you can kind of think about, or what is it that you're feeling when you're feeling jealous? Is you feeling like you're not as accepted, or are you feeling like you're not as important? And you can usually find that trace that back to an unmet emotional need of some sort. Jealousy is the behavior, is kind of what I feel. The act.
Right.
But
So let me ask you this, Kenya. So I think you kind of gave an opinion on if it's the person is jealous, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if the friends is jealous of you? How do you think you deal with it if your friends are jealous of you, if you're not the one that has the jealous issue?
For me, I think one of the things you learn about me is I'm very honest and direct. I can't operate in the area and space of faith, but I do it with gentle correction, or I have to use my I statements. Sometimes I feel when we're together, and I seem to be, exceeding in a certain level or excelling in my life, that I don't feel as supported. Is it just me? Help me understand, because I want to make sure, that I'm correct about this, and give them the opportunity to explain. And if they need examples, usually if you have that thought, give some good examples and put it back on their lap to kind of talk about it, ponder.
Okay.
I value friendship. It's so important.
Okay. Yes, that's good. Good. Okay, Yolanda, what you think?
Honestly, I don't have. Kenya nailed it for me. I just think, no, seriously, because it's something that I don't do well with in friendships. I don't do well with feeling like I have to be on guard or in competition with someone who says that they love me.
Yeah.
So I just don't think there's any place for it in authentic friendships, that is.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
exactly.
And
Right.
so that's why it's a hard question for me, because it's not something that I've ever felt toward a friend. It's just
Mhm.
something, I didn't grow up that way, like to be jealous or envious of someone else. And so that thought doesn't come into my mind. And so when I get sense that someone else is not, um, as Kenya said, being supportive or
Yeah.
being a cheerleader for me as I would for them, I think there's reciprocity in that and celebrating one another. And I think that's just what we should do. And I talk to girls about it. I talk to young girls about it now,
Mhm.
about when you see or feel that type of um, like a battle with feeling that you're in competition, or you feel envious of some, that you have, number one, you do have to have open communication and talk about when that happens, so that you can have a healthy relationship moving forward. So I believe the same for young and seasoned in friendship.
Yeah, I agree. And I found even at this age, you still can face those circumstances, and
Mhm.
pray about it, and I find sometimes there's a transition of like shedding, like people are removed from your life, they're not meant to go in that next
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
um, and still doing it great with gracefully, and in a way to where there's no bitterness or anger.
Yeah.
And then I find that like it can even be years where someone might call back and say, what, hey, I was going
Yeah.
through something,
Yeah. Definitely. I agree with what you guys said, and at the end of the day, a lot of times people in denial, kind of like what you put out there, Kenya. At first, if it's the person themselves, most people won't admit that they're
Mhm.
jealous or in competition with someone. They will constantly create different things to hide behind why that behavior exists.
To manipulate.
So, yeah,
Mhm.
so I mean, pretty much like you guys said, you can try to have open communication. And if that's not working, like you said, maybe you just want to leave that relationship and just go and move on,
Yeah.
because it's not worth trying if the person's not willing to look at their behavior and see, what's going on. So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Um,
and give them. Because
okay.
sometimes it's tough. If you've had friends for years, it's
Yep.
hurtful. So I call it forgiveness in the absence of an apology, because they
Yep.
don't always apologize.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Be
That's
able to move on healthy.
yes. Okay. So let's get another one real quick. Okay. The year is moving fast, and I haven't done nearly as much as I planned. What advice do you have to get back on track to meet my goals for the year?
Well, I just did a post on resetting my routine.
Oh, okay.
I
Mm.
did it, giving yourself permission for a do-over to
Mm-hmm.
reset your routine. COVID, I think, was a very big, I say, traumatic event that most people don't even recognize how traumatizing it really was,
Yeah.
to go through, and so just for me, my recent post was about resetting my routine. I was on this fitness journey. It was going great, and life started happening. I'm planning a wedding, and I
Yeah.
had to do things with the business. I fell off, and then I realized, that was something I really enjoyed. And okay, I kind of taken a step back and didn't intend to, but I gave
Mhm.
myself permission to start again and do it
Yeah.
over. So
Yeah.
resetting your routine, and the good thing is you kind of already had an idea of how well it's going to go. So it's just picking it back up again. So I think just being intentional about resetting, you know, the routines in your life, and I think with that intentionality, you'll be off to a great
Yeah.
start.
Okay. That's good. Good. What you got, Yolanda?
That's good. I just say welcome to my life. It's like, where did the year go? So I'm feeling you, reader, viewer, I should say,
Yeah.
because oh my goodness, it is so hard. But the key is, to me, not to beat yourself up,
Mhm.
just give yourself permission to say
Yeah.
whatever. Really, first owning, like for me, I have to own that I procrastinated in some areas. I have to
Mhm.
own that I'm not as organized as I should be, you know. And so, and that in itself causes stress. It causes stress. It causes stagnation, you know, not moving. And I have done that, you know. So I'm using myself as an example, you know, that yes, we, you know, we have to accept that we still have to get back up and try again, but also own those things that are keeping us from progress, and you know, own those, speak to them, and correct them.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with what you ladies said. And I mean, at the end of the day, to be human is
Mhm.
you need to take a mental break. To do
Mhm.
something constantly without any interruption or falling off, as we call it, would be being a robot or android or machine. So the fact that we are human beings, I think we have to like have room, for like breaking up
Oh yeah.
the routine. And then, as long as, like you said, Kenya, as long as you were intentional about getting back on track, I think it's okay to break the routine for a little while and then just get back on. I think it's part of being able to continue, even longer because you take breaks.
I
Mhm.
agree. It's sometimes self-care. I
Yeah.
would put it in that category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
find that like in the social work field, they've come up with this. It's called compassion fatigue, and
Mhm.
it's people who start out very compassionate and driven about helping those, but when you're in so many of these situations that are traumatic experiences, or you're hearing all these traumatic stories, or whatever, just going every day and showing up, you're not showing up the same, and you need to kind
Right.
of do something to prevent this burnout, or you're operating oftentimes in burnout because you're doing the job, but it's not with the same level of passion, should I say.
Right. Right.
Breaking that routine up. So for me, I always tend to evaluate where I am in the field and break that routine up. And it might be, okay, I need to not see so many clients that got sexual abuse stuff going on, or this going on, and break that pattern up, even in work,
Right. Right.
best as
Right.
I can.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Kenya, we really had a great time talking with you tonight.
You
You were a breath of fresh air. Um, you just reminded us about a lot of things that, with for doing things, the Do Over Project. You just reminded us that God give grace, and we have to give ourselves grace and everybody else grace. So that's what
Mhm.
I got out of talking with you tonight.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Oh.
Very refreshing. And will you please tell our viewers how to get a hold of you, find out more about your organization, where can they follow you, call you, etc., if they need you?
Absolutely. The best place to get a hold of us is through our website, dooverproject.org. We have everything there set up in terms of just our emails and our phone numbers to reach us, and a full detail of the services we provide. And if you are in some of our programming, you can go on there to like book respite and get all the services you need just from visiting our website. Get connected to services you need.
Okay, thank you for that. So we want to take a moment to um, give a thank you to our sponsor, DNA Enhancement DNA. So we want to say thanks to Danola Burton for a sponsorship. Also, I wanted to say for any of our viewers, if you want to um, send in a question, concern, you can do that at She Became Me 2020 at gmail.com. And just go on our YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, and so you can stay in the know what's going on with She Became Me. So, Yolanda, you got any last things for our audience or for Kenya?
Thank you so much, Kenya, again for joining us and for all you are doing in serving our youth and families in our city.
Yes.
Oh,
We
my
appreciate
pleasure.
you joining us.
Thank you so
Thank
much for having me. This was
Yes.
fun.
Yes. Okay, guys. So until next time, we'll see you.